It's not every day you get given the keys to a Rolls-Royce Phantom, and it's even less common that you can do this with it, although you will have to wait a little while, 30 seconds to be exact. What are we doing on Ignition GT with a more than 5-year-old car? Well, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, so we jumped at the chance to drive the Series 1 Drophead Coupe, and then racked our brains to come up with another car to shoot it out with. One that's also a bit long in the tooth, that you or I are equally as unlikely to buy, and one that we also can't drive too far. And after racking our brains, we came up with this, the Nissan Leaf. Launched to the world around 5 years ago, this all-electric car can do just under 200 k's on a charge and has sold 100,000 units globally. But what's the prospect for a car like this in South Africa, especially if you consider that it went on sale here last year for a whopping 446,000 rand? To help me unravel whether either of these very different cars have a business case in South Africa and what they teach us about the future of motoring, I've called on the super brainy and financially savvy David Furlonger. David, I don't think we could have come up with a possibly more bizarre shootout, but there are more similarities than meets the eye.
There are lots of similarities, but you do have the thing that they are both at extreme ends of the politically correct scale. You've got the Leaf, which is going to save the world, or the owners believe they will. You've got the Rolls-Royce, the owners do in fact own the world. The Leaf has zero, or pretty well zero emissions. You've got the Rolls-Royce, which is something like 14 litres per 100 kilometres, so really at extreme ends of that parallel.
I think also both of them, you have to be really committed to buy them, either of them. Like, really, they're niche markets.
Certainly if you're buying a Rolls-Royce, you're making a statement, and it is, I have arrived. I absolutely have more money than I know what to do with. When you consider that the dealer we were talking to earlier was saying that a lot of his customers have 2 Rolls-Royces. One to be driven in and one to drive. We're filming at the little piece of tranquility in the middle of Sandton that is Innisfree Park. It's beautifully maintained and looked after by Joburg City Parks and provided a great spot for us to toddle around in our 2 test cars in peace. Both of these cars are going to be incredibly quiet to drive, but for completely different reasons. Obviously, with its fully electric drivetrain, you don't hear the Leaf coming. It does come rather quickly though, with its 24 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack pushing it to speeds of up to 150 k's an hour. That's helped along by an 80 kilowatt electric motor. So David, this is a bit of a chalk and cheese experience to the Leaf. You've got a whopping V12 under the bonnet. How's it feel to drive? Initially very intimidating. I've been driving it for a few minutes now, and I must say the first time I got in and you see the length of the bonnet in front of you, which is about the length of my car on its own, it really was quite scary. But it handles incredibly easily. The challenge is not to get too carried away.
I suppose you could. I mean, it's 388 kilowatts and 720 Newton meters. I mean, you could blast away in this thing.
I could, and I must say it's very tempting, but I know you're a nervous passenger, so I'll be there.
I'm more nervous about the excess on the car than reliable for. How heavy does it feel? It's a very heavy car. Well, it's 2.6 tons, is that right?
2.6 tons,
2.6 tons. Do you feel that when you drive it?
You feel it's very, very solid, but in terms of maneuverability and actually driving, to be honest, it's no heavier than anything else to drive. It's very, very responsive. But then again, we've been going at sort of relatively low speeds, nothing more than sort of 60, 70. I can understand why people do like this. I really can.
Well, it's the refinement of the ride, isn't it? I mean, it's so supple. You feel nothing on the road. Nothing.
I feel nothing for other motorists anyway, so that's fine.
Well, I mean, they are hand-built in Goodwood, so it's all part of the whole Rolls-Royce experience, isn't it?
You know, when you order a brand new car, which of course this isn't, you get to choose the colours of the paintwork, the interior. You're encouraged actually to go through to Goodwood to see it being built, and they keep you up to date with everything. So even the word premium, I suppose, doesn't really explain what it is they're trying to do for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, this particular model is 5.5 million, and what did they say? It was about 3,000 k's on the clock. So
that's correct, yes.
It's pretty good going. So what do you get for all your millions? Well, David, I can give you 21-inch wheels.
which I think are also run flat, which we
Yes,
hope they are.
They are indeed.
I can give you my Star Wars impression. Press the button and you get your very own umbrella,
Oh, wow.
this side and the other side as well.
Oh, very nifty. I can give you teak finishes because it's nautical inspired, this car, and aluminium.
Okay, I can give you very classy interior, also classic fascia, everything else there. I think it takes a month to build by hand back in England.
Absolutely, and they fly it to you rather than ship it to you.
Yep. My one concern is at the back here, where I know they've got this lovely seat, but I do think that for the money you're paying, you could do with a little bit bigger boot.
Indeed, but what car, actual sedan car, do you get these days that can take I'm not 150 kilos, but it can take 150 kilos.
No, the seat can take the extra 25 on top of you as well.
These are incredibly cool. Now this is something I'd really like to see on cars of the future. I don't mean the suicide door configuration. I mean this little button here that says door. It allows you to do that.
There's lots to love inside the Leaf too. It's extremely well spec'd and offers a good few goodies we'd like to see in future cars. It would have to at just under R500,000.
David, quite a cool place to be, the interior of the Leaf. Lots of gadgets and goodies to play with.
It is. I think when you have an electric car, you've got to have all the latest gizmos as well. One or two I think are a little extreme. I'm not quite sure why you need a heated steering wheel, but I guess some people do like it.
Oh well, it's for Europe, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's for Europe. I suppose that also, I mean, you get heated seats in the front and the rear. I don't know any other cars that come with heated rear seats. Well, in this sort of price bracket.
Yeah.
It's got cruise control, it's got keyless entry and go, it's got 8 airbags, it's an incredibly safe car.
I think in any case, when you're going into new technology, something like this, you really must have all the mod cons. I think that's what your buying public would expect anyway.
I guess, and also because the kind of person that will buy this car is someone who's a little more advanced, who wants the gadgets and the gizmos and all the little extra bits.
It's a calm place to be. I quite enjoy it, even with your driving.
Nice.
Like any other car, under the hood you'll find the motor. There's also a radiator, purely there for the air conditioning system. A solar panel on the rear charges up the 12-volt battery, which is used to power the Leaf's electrical systems.
So in terms of the driving experience, it's not really that different to other cars. The gear knob's obviously a little bit strange, and you have to move it
little
in odd
futuristic,
directions. Yeah, so it's basically like a normal car to drive, like an automatic. Obviously there's no gears, there's no clutch, and the operations are as per normal. It
must feel the same to drive as anything else.
Yeah.
Once you start telling people it's a space-age car and it's got space-age controls, you're going to put people off. This is, as you say, exactly like an ordinary car.
Yeah.
If you can overcome the prejudice of people against electric, clearly in this country you've got the problem that people aren't convinced that they're going to get their power generation because of the ESCOM issues.
Yeah.
It's got everything it needs. What it hasn't got yet, I think, is public confidence, but give it time, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Obviously there are things all over the dashboard telling you how you're driving. It does tell you how much energy you're saving. I mean, apart from it being incredibly quiet, which you expect, it handles really nicely. It sits on the road.
Yeah, it's very solid.
It feels solid and sturdy. It's a really, really nice drive. You can drive up to 180 kilometers on it, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, that is the claim by Nissan. There's no reason to believe that that's not the case, because they have what they call range anxiety. I don't know who came up with that expression, but apparently people around the world are nervous of breaking down in the middle of nowhere.
I would be. It certainly would be something that concerned me.
But if you're looking at 180, you're looking at a couple of days to and from work if you're relatively central, a couple of days without having to recharge. And I think that gives some reassurance.
And he did also tell us that you have 20 kilometers that you can go in limp mode when you've run out of charge and you need to get chop to the nearest charging station. You've got 20 k's to do it in.
This though is where things get tricky, because while you'll have trouble fitting a Rolls-Royce Phantom into your average sized garage, it's 5.6 meters long, you'll have even more of a problem parking your Leaf there, unless you have one of these, or at least the home equivalent.
So David, I guess this is the equivalent of a petrol station for the Leaf.
Yeah. Look, it looks pretty much the same, but clearly there is a totally different technology there.
But it is quite easy to do yourself. You simply pop this, same as you would in your own car, pop the hood. You've got a little touch screen over here that you can operate. You put in 30 minutes, because these are quick charge, and over 30 minutes it'll charge for you. And plug it in. This is a 3-phase power, and it'll top you up. You see the blue lights there as well going.
Yes. Like everything else, I suppose once you get used to it, it's fine. But I'm sure it's very technical, but it looks straightforward.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. 12 of these at dealerships around Joburg. Unfortunately, nothing around the rest of the country yet.
Look, that was always their plan. The catch is, I mean, talking to the dealer earlier, he's already sold one down in Cape Town. So I assume that person is going to have to do all the charging at home.
At home, yeah.
But I know they have said that Cape Town is the next city they're going to go to. So we'll see.
Of course, you can do the charging at home. It's not quite as big as this. You get something, I think it's about that size, about that size.
No, much more manageable.
You can get at home, and it's about 30 to 40,000 rand to install at your house. And that takes 7 hours for a long charge, which you can obviously do overnight.
Yeah. No, it looks okay. It looks straightforward.
By the time the third generation Leaf gets here, South Africans should be a bit more open to the idea of electric cars, and perhaps our infrastructure will also be more up to the task. For now, this just looks like a pricey flirtation with being green for those lucky few who can afford it.
Speaking of pricey flirtations, once you've got to grips with a second-hand Series 1, you might think about graduating to an all-new Series 2. But Phantom 2 buyers might be a little bit put out to hear more of these sounds. Because BMW is definitely having more of an influence on the car, and things like the cubbyhole, you can see it comes from BMW, and a lot of people might say, leave well enough alone, it's a Rolls-Royce.
But maybe BMW is not onto a bad thing, because Rolls is apparently seeing something of a change in its customers, a swing towards a more youthful market that appreciates the status and quality that comes with owning a roller.
So David, a rather strange and unlikely pair. We're testing them years after they've been launched. Are they still relevant in a South African car market?
Let's face it, Rolls-Royce is traditionally pretty timeless. People buy them 20, 30 years old, it's timeless. Whether the Leaf will be as timeless, I hate to say this as a journalist, but time will tell.
Well, in terms of the Leaf, I mean, certainly there are cars on the market now that are fuel efficient, eco-friendly, they have lower emissions, they have lower CO2, and you don't need to fork out fortunes for them. They're normal cars, just more eco-friendly.
Look, if you look at all the major manufacturers, they've realised in the last 4 or 5 years, after all the efforts they put into hybrid and into electric, that if they can improve the traditional internal combustion engine, you can get outstanding clean engines, small engines, powerful engines, turbo. So you don't need to go this route at the moment. And if you want to make a statement of intent, why not?
That's it. And in terms of the Rolls-Royce, I mean, yes, it is. There's nothing that compares with the Rolls-Royce, but certainly if it's luxury and status that you're after, there are cars that give you as much luxury and snob value at a fraction of the price.
Nothing gives you the snob value of a Rolls-Royce. I'm British, I have snob value as well. But no, certainly you can get the luxury for a lot cheaper, but in terms of status and that snob value you refer to, I still think that Rolls-Royce, in spite of the link now with BMW, and that's not meant as an insult to BMW, but that status, that snob value is untouched.